everyone, and welcome to Godsaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling podcast I run over here on YouTube.com. And I wanted to go ahead and give my thoughts and opinions about the WWE draft. I wanted to do this more as more of an opinion base versus a review. This wasn't because, let's be 100% fair, I feel like they missed the boat on the WWE draft. I'll go through with what I honestly think was the main thing that they had an issue with. It wasn't the wrestling. The wrestling was fine. Actually, the wrestling was quite good for the most part on that side of everything. And you did have some good stuff in the terms of storyline, at least, well, let's say one good thing storyline wise, with the whole full heel turn for Bayley during SmackDown and the SmackDown Women's title match. Those were some good things that happened during the WWE draft. Now what we've seen is that most people are panning the WWE draft, or basically, I won't say ranting. They don't think fondly of this one, and I would actually agree with them on this. And the thing that I think that they missed the boat on the most in the draft with this whole Fox USA thing and everything to go along with that, the thing I think they missed the most out of this is that they didn't have any fun with it. And what I'm meaning is they were sitting back in any way, shape, or form trying to make this feel more of a legitimate thing, that they played it safe. That they played it safe so much with how they did draft picks and how they did this and how they did that, that it actually didn't come off looking legitimate to begin with. That's the thing. It didn't actually look like it was legitimate in any way, shape, or form, just on the aspect of how safe everything went. Titles went exactly where you expected them to go. Certain people went kind of where you expected them to go. Maybe a couple of hiccups here and there. And honestly, even the biggest problem, even though they had accidentally leaked the list on their own website beforehand, wasn't even the biggest problem. It was the aspect of missing out on any type of fun with it. If you've watched any other draft, whether it be an NBA draft or NHL, or the NFL is definitely most prolific for a draft and what showcases they do with that. One of the things that happens there is not only just the aspect of where players are going and where people are going and everything to go along with that. WWE got that perfectly down. And that was absolutely fine. You knew where people were going. So-and-so was going to Raw, so-and-so was going to SmackDown. You got that on that side. But the other aspect that makes those drafts intriguing is the aspect of trades or doing something in there that makes it fun. And now, don't get me wrong, they're not doing it as part of a show. They're doing it in the terms of strategy, but in the terms of watching it, it makes it come off a little bit more intriguing to see. It's like, oh, this player's still on the board, but this team's gonna take that player here. We need to get ourselves, and you see another team that's lower on the draft board wanting to push themselves up ahead of that team to go along with it. But does that team react before they react to go along with that? You see this all the time, especially in the NFL draft, that you see things like that. It's those little nuances and little storylines that you, as the viewer, get to see. It's not and that was what was missing here in this way. In this particular draft with WWE. Now, we've seen with drafts in the past that they're fun, they're unpredictable, they're this, they're that. And it's like, yeah, sure, some people didn't go where you would expect them to go. Most people kind of pegged Charlotte to go to SmackDown. She went to Raw. So did Andrade and everything to go along with that. So you had certain things like that, and a few other ones that were perplexing, such as Kevin Owens going to Raw, even though he had this storyline on SmackDown with Shane McMahon. Now, granted, they could do things down the line. I guess they've kind of laid the story that, you know, there could be trades at any time. You can have trades, you can have this, you can have that. Matter of fact, we had a trade on the new on the new WWE Backstage show, which they did a preview on Fox Sports 1, which actually, let's not get that wrong, that was actually kind of a fun show. But the one thing that they said for a trade was that now Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross are going over to SmackDown. They had been drafted to Raw, even though they were a tag team and separate draft picks. Yeah, well, don't worry about that one. It's like, in that size, like, don't worry about that. You kind of know that just didn't come off all that smart, and that was all the aspect of them probably trying to change it up. It's like, oh, we've accidentally put the entire list of who's going to get drafted in order on our website. We need to change this now. That was probably what that happened there. And what does Raw get in return? They get considerations for future picks. Like, what does that mean? Obviously, that's something of a, what does that mean? Or do they get somebody down the line or anything? Or do they just sweep it under the rug and never mention it again? That's kind of where that is right now. But the other aspect that they could have had here that would have made the WWE draft fun. They could have done things where they made it actually feel like this was a real thing between Fox and USA, which I think to a certain degree it was on that side, but it didn't play off that way on TV. It's like everybody just kind of went exactly where they were supposed to go. That's how it was supposed to go. There you go. But they didn't do anything that made it intriguing on television. They could have done something like somehow Raw or somehow SmackDown gets both Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar, and now they've got to find a way to get a now Raw has to find a way to get a world title onto Raw in some kind of trade or some other way, shape, or form. But in return to what them somehow getting both of the main champions, they get Bayley, and she's the SmackDown Women's Champion. Now they have to find a way to get the SmackDown Women's title back onto SmackDown, whether trading for Bayley or things like that. They didn't do anything like that. They didn't try to play around with it. There was no in the words, I won't even say shenanigans, but there was no, like, it just felt clean, safe, and this is where you're going. This is where you're going. This is where you're going. Okay. Awesome. And there was no thing was like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we traded our pick here. And now, don't get me wrong, you only have Raw and SmackDown with the draft, so you only have two, so you're not really going to get trading. But the whole aspect of maybe not, and I won't even say switching the titles, but making it perception that the titles were going to switch brands in any way, shape, or form would have been an interesting way of going. It could have made it fun, and now all of a sudden it's like your thing is like, okay, is Fox really doing this? Is USA doing this? What are they doing? You didn't get any type of story out of it. It was just people getting drafted. Here, simple, safe, and it's done type of thing. And that is where I personally think a lot of the problem lied with the draft. It obviously wasn't an aspect of the matches that happened on the show. I thought a lot of the matches were actually quite good. They were very enjoyable on the show. It was just on both shows, honestly. And so you got little storyline tidbits here and there. Obviously, it was them doing the draft, so you weren't getting much storyline wise until everything is fully set in stone. So now you're kind of expecting both Raw and SmackDown to kind of really fixate on their stories. You did have that interesting segment with Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman on Raw, and the stuff on SmackDown to go along with, actually, I don't think there was anything that happened on SmackDown. I forget off the top of my head of, see, there you go. I forget off the top of my head if they did anything with Tyson Fury. I know they did some extra stuff with Cain Velasquez, especially on WWE Backstage, and also he showed up on SmackDown again, which you were imagining that he's going to be showing up on SmackDown now that Brock's officially SmackDown to go along with that. But in the end, the WWE draft was just that. That's all it was. It's just a draft. You're going here. You're going there. I know I'm repeating myself, but whatever. But no real story came out of it. And now I'm left with a perception. Now you're supposed to be left with a perception of it's Fox versus USA in the terms of getting the best rosters. But did you actually get that? No, because it didn't look like anything was happening on that side. No one tried to mess around with the other to try to get them to get what they exactly wanted. In the end, there was no messing around. There was no fun in it. And that was in my mind was the biggest problem with the WWE draft. I didn't want to rant too terribly long. Actually, I didn't think I ranted all that long. It was only about 11 minutes or so. And it's just, yeah, in the end of the day, both shows ended out kind of lacking due to the factors of the aspect of lacking fun on those sides. I'm not even going to talk about the aspect of what Seth Rollins does with the Firefly Funhouse, because honestly, that's a different storyline to talk about with a different video and where they were going with that to go along with that. This was mainly about the WWE draft. So, yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions of the WWE draft. Why it seemed like it was just utter failure almost to its own degree to go along with it. There's obviously other stories that came out that I may even do a piece on here very soon, but I wanted to get my thoughts out on the WWE draft and how it ended up going, and my thoughts on how it how I felt about it in general. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the talk here. We are going to start trying to bring back reviews and everything here to the channel as soon as we possibly can, and starting it up here on the new channel, which is Godsall's Turnbuckle. If you're tuning in, if you liked it, give it a like, subscribe, everything. And I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Take care, everyone.